Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mindshifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeannie. Michael and Jeannie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeannie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to Mindshifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1. That puts you in queue to talk to Michael. We do already have a caller on the line, but first, this is Memorial Day celebration, 325, and we are in our 5th day of the second 9-day intensive, and things are rocking here in Palm Coast. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, sweetie. I'm just finishing the last bite of this awesome lunch of guacamole and live food crackers and Caesar salad that the dressing would make Caesar envious. Chunky topping on tomatoes and carrot mint soup. What an awesome lunch. You know, people think, gee, if you're going to eat vegetarian, especially if you're going to eat raw food, oh, what can you do? What do you eat? Lettuce? Is that it? Oh, listen, we are in for such a treat the rest of this week doing all this awesome food. So thank you, Jeannie, for heading that project up. Thank you, David, for your support in the kitchen and helping it all to happen. Everybody is happily chowing down. And, you can even hear some dishes there in the background. And the Memorial Day celebration mentioned every day is our invitation to you to do your part in putting an end to war. That's our project. Let's put an end to war on planet Earth and create a space where there is life, where there is human life, where there is a peaceful game to play. And the way we invite you to do that is through the ancient Aramaic idea of forgiveness. Now, quite the opposite of what our culture teaches. Forgiveness has nothing to do with letting other people off the hook because of what's happening inside of you. Forgiveness is the tool with which you go inside yourself and remove your hostility, your fear, your grief, your pain, your trauma, so that instead of creating out of it over and over and over again, you get to play a different game. So we're here to play a different game. And if you want to know what that game is, just hold a newborn child. You know exactly the game we're talking about. It is this awesome presence of love that you and I are designed to be, to function as. If you don't know how to play the game, then we invite you to go to www.whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, there's a link that says Download Worksheets. Catch that link, and the first 6 or 7 links under that will give you the whole forgiveness story, including several customized sets of verbal instructions to walk you through it. There are 4 different worksheets that we have walked people through step by step the process. If you look at the sheet and you go, this doesn't make any sense, how do I do this? Just click on one of those MP3s, and you'll be listening to us guide somebody right through the whole forgiveness process. So we're delighted that you're here. We're delighted to be supporting you. Jeannie, you've got a caller. Let's hear from our caller.
Well, actually, they disconnected, so if you're still in the switchboard, press 1. That puts you back up in queue. Several people listening, both in the chat room and on the switchboard. We welcome you to the show. David is with us. Dr. Tim is not.
Okay. David, how do you be, sir? Share a little bit about your experience of the intensive so far.
Oh, gosh, Michael. I mean, it's like describing the newborn baby. It's nearly impossible to put words to it, especially with all of the interaction that all of the participants are doing and the the movement that they're making towards opening their life and living from this place of joy and peace and harmony. And to me, that's what the work is about, and what most people are looking for is that peace and harmony within them, and to express that. And so there are those breakthroughs, and what is this, the fourth day? Maybe I think it's the fourth day that this group here is so together with their support of each other and of the work itself. It's very encouraging, and eager for it to begin this afternoon.
It is pretty awesome, and we are most appreciative of everybody who did the first 9 days, that just prepared energetically the space and gave everybody a platform to stand on, and everybody's just going to the next level with it. So it's really very cool. And I don't know if anybody from the intensive is listening to the show, but if you are, you might want to hit one and just share what's happening for you in the workshop. We're covering a lot of material very quickly, and in that material that's being covered, the process work that's being done is just awesome. And in this work, we define process as the ability to keep love conscious, active, and present when something less than love comes up. And so moving into that process work is what we're here to do. And we invite you as a listener, I don't care where you are in the world, it really doesn't matter. One of the fabulous things about this awesome presence of love is that time and space mean nothing to it. It doesn't matter if you're in Asia or if you're in the Middle East or you're in Africa or China or right next door, energetically. And one of the things that I really appreciate about our radio show audience is that when somebody calls into the show that has an issue, they've got this energy beaming from every corner of the earth, supporting them in the healing process. And when you shine that much light into the darkness of a mind in hostility or fear, the darkness has to dissipate. It's kind of cool that nobody has ever invented. A lot of people talk about the power of darkness. Nobody has ever invented a flash dark. Where you turned on, all the light goes out? No, it's an absence. And so when you fill the dark spaces in your mind with the active presence of love, those dark spaces begin to dissolve and heal and become filled with that active presence of light and love. In the ancient Aramaic, where we hear Yeshua saying the words, "You are the light of the world," he used exactly the same words except for the pronoun when he said he was the light of the world. And each of us has the opportunity to live a true, full, absolute human life in the presence of love, being the presence of love, bringing that love forward and dissolving. The Beatles had it, and it's kind of a nice cliche when you hear it in that song, all you need is love, but how do you get to that experience? Well, the key is that you let go of everything in you that's unlike that experience. That's where it happens. When you let go of the hostility, the fear, the grief, the pain, the trauma, the rage, the sadness, the hatred, the vengeance, when you let go of those things, all that's left is being. All that's left is your human life. And many people have become so invested in those energies of non-being that they've taken on the identity, and they think that's what they are. And my input to you is you're not. You are not hostility. You are not fear. You are not grief. You are not pain. They may be things that you have, but everything that you have, you're allowed to throw away. Throwing away the hostility, the fear, the grief, the pain, the turmoil, it's called forgiveness. Now, some people have their whole lives so filled with those types of turmoil that those words make no sense. It's like some kind of an echo from an impossible dream. And it's not an impossible dream. If your life is filled with turmoil and pain, there's a reason. And the reason is because you're filled with turmoil and pain. Of course, the game everybody plays when they're filled with turmoil or pain is the 3 relationship killer words and the suicide words. You made me. When we say the words to somebody, you made me, we are denying and therefore dissociating from the internal cause of our pain. Our mind hallucinates a picture makes up an image of somebody else being the cause of that pain, and no change is possible. When you start to understand the technology, 2,000 years ago, this man named Yeshua understood exactly how the process worked, exactly how to change the game, and he taught tools for doing it. The tools were pretty much quickly disappeared because the world of hostility or fear doesn't want you becoming free from it. It wants to control you and run your life. You're a great slave. You're a great servant. But when you wake up to the power of the active presence of love, the young lady in the workshop today that shared an experience she had. Actually, it kind of correlates. We were talking about what this active presence of love does. There was a physician in the workshop. We actually talked about her last week, but she was in the intensive here in Palm Coast. And she had an experience which she did not understand. She was in medical training. And there's a young child, very young boy, like, I forget, 18 months or something like that had been badly battered, and they didn't expect him to live. And, all the nurses and the medical doctors are around this little boy, and, well, too bad, he's going to die, and that's it. And she would go to him, and something would stir in her. What would stir in her would be the active presence of love. And she would go into an altered state of that active presence. And at the same time, the child would tap in and go into that state. The boy wasn't supposed to live. The boy lived. Why? Because when we go into our human beingness, we have a power that changes everything. And we're so used to identifying with our turmoil, our pain, our grief, our loss, that space seems impossible and ridiculous, and don't even talk to me about it because it's silly. So that was one of the people that shared that altered space with us last week. And then we had a gal today in the workshop who shared that her husband and she were going through some trauma, and they went to a therapist, and it was not going, I guess, exactly the direction that the husband wanted, and his pain was intensifying. Big guy, military man, and this gal isn't probably about a third his weight. And he's like, I'm out of here. I'm heading for the door. She said she doesn't know what struck her. I know exactly what struck her. She does now. She understands it now that we've explained it. But this active presence of love was activated in her, and she knew exactly what to do. And she stood in front of the door and blocked it. I mean, he could have blown her away with just his pinky. It's over 300 pounds. And she stands there as the space of love and says, no, you are not running from this. We are going to stay and deal with this. And he starts to go into shocks and convulsions and starts to fold into a fetal ball on the floor. And she's able to be that space. And as that space finally gets him to open his eyes and look at her, and all of a sudden melts away all of this pain and rage. And he's in the state of a human life. He's in the state of being. It's a process we're all absolutely capable of. And what we're here to do is to empower that process in the world, to empower you in that process. Now, if somebody's giving you different messages about yourself other than you are the active presence of love, that you are the newborn energy, they lied. That's all. They lied. And I don't care where your life is. I don't care what kind of terrible, awful, evil, nasty, wicked, whatever words you want to use, things you've done. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter what kind of nasty, evil, awful, wicked things have been done to you. It's irrelevant. None of that has touched your human beingness. We're here to see, support, and bring forward your human beingness. Not some magic power from somebody else. The truth of your being. And we're here to empower you in letting go of what never belonged in you, and what never belonged in your human system is any form of hostility or fear. And so we define this ability to move into this space of active love as processing work. And when something less than love shows up in the presence of that awesome love,
it just begins to dissolve. It begins to fall apart because it has no substance. It has no power. It's a puff in the wind. And so we're here to support and help to bring forward enough people on planet Earth that can do this, that we can make a puff of smoke of all the hostility, rage, fear, war, insanity on the planet. If someone stands and opens their mind in the presence of this act of love, everything unlike the act of love in them dissolves. That's all. That's what it's all about. So that's what we're here to do, and I sure appreciate everybody in our audience all over the globe who is working in the practice of removing the hostility and fear so that you can be that space. And then when anybody calls into the show who's in turmoil or pain, how everyone turns that energy toward them wherever they are and holds that space. It's such an awesome gift. And we are so blessed and honored. Sometimes the appreciation for the opportunity to do what we do, for me, is just overwhelming. We get to see changes in people's lives that the world would say that's impossible. Well, guess what, folks? It's not possible. It's doable, and you can do it. It's your birthright to do it. It's your birthright to live in the mind you were given at birth. And the mind you were given at birth is the awesome mind and presence of love. The world does its best to take it away from you. Businesses, education, churches do their best to take it away from you. They teach you about hostility and fear and say, this is who you are. And we'll fix it for you with more hostility and fear and threats. Excuse me, folks. It's all a fraud. It's time for us to wake up. You were born pure and out of the active presence of love. Go hold a newborn if you don't believe me. Check it out. Awesome. We just had a newborn enter our family. The first grandchild back in December. Jeannie and I got to go and spend 3 weeks in St. Louis and be with that presence of love as she came into the world. And you just need to hold a newborn to know what it's all about. You just need to start to let go or forgive everything you've been trained that's unlike that. I mean, everything that you've been trained into. Every belief, every word. You know, the man named Yeshua says the power of life and death is in your words. Let go of every word based in hostility or fear, even if it sounded logical and correct and the greatest authority in the world was telling you about it. Because if it isn't based in the truth of love, it isn't true. It isn't true about you. It isn't true about the Creator. It isn't true about anybody else in your world. Now, it can be your truth, no question. Forgiveness will change your truth, I promise you. Pick up the tool. If you have a question for us, if some part of this conversation doesn't sound logical or sensible, or wait a minute, Michael, or yeah, I've been there, I had that experience, share it with us. Pick up the phone, call us, 646-200-4169. If you're on the switchboard, ask a question of Jeannie, make a comment, or call us. Call in. Push 1, and when you push 1, that will put you in a queue, and Jeannie will know that you want to speak to us. Sweetie, do we have anything happening in the chat room or anything on the phone? Mute button.
Okay, there's nobody asking any questions. Several people in the chat room, several people on the switchboard, but nobody has their hand up.
Okay, well, if you and I were in a room together. Go for it.
646-200-4169 and press 1.
If you have a question for us, please pick up the phone calls. Push 1. So the way the world plays the game of life is exactly 180 degrees out of phase with the truth. It's all backward. People think, I'm in trauma because of what just happened in my life. Oh, look at what that did to me. That has traumatized me so much. That event was so awful it caused so much pain in me. Well, if you think and say things like that, I'm here to inform you that you've got it backward. Events don't cause trauma. Trauma causes events. And once one walks into the belief that events cause trauma, then they lock onto their trauma, and they create event after event after event after event out of that trauma. And they say, see, it's justified. Look at all those events that are causing my trauma. When one recognizes and uses the process of forgiveness, they remove the trauma. And guess what happens? The events change. It's awesome. It's so awesome. It's so very cool to just be part of this process and to watch the changes in people's lives. A couple of years ago, Jeannie and I had a kind of a tough assignment. We had to go to Hawaii in January and February. And we did a workshop series at Unity in Diamond Head in Hawaii about the second week in January. And we were going to be around for another 5 or 6 weeks. And because of the results that happened from that workshop, there was an arrangement made to bring us back to do another series. So we were back there about 6 weeks later. The toughest part of the assignment was, we were now into February, and we had to stay in Hawaii an extra 2 weeks to do this. It was really very difficult. But we kind of, we just breathed and toughed our way through it. And that second workshop series, we had 3 different people come to us and share that. The first week when they came to the workshop, they planned on committing suicide. 3 people. 3 people whose lives were back on track, back in excitement, and understood that the thing that inclined them towards suicide was that they had realities in their mind they didn't know how to change. Once they had the tools to change them, who would give up this awesome experience of a human life? But if one's been so filled with turmoil and trauma and pain and never given the tools with which to undo that turmoil, trauma, and pain, then it seems like it's hopeless. And hopelessness is just a reality output from the mind, which is totally, completely, 100% changeable. And so we're here to support that process. We're here to assist you in learning forgiveness. Forgiveness being the tool with which you go inside yourself and literally remove the very capacity to generate any form of hostility, fear, rage, grief, pain, or trauma. And as you remove that, everything around you starts to shift and change. I think our plan is getting close to critical mass. Like Yeshua said, and if it weren't for these words, I probably wouldn't be doing this work today, because there are certainly easier ways to do life than being on the road 6 to 10 months of the year, city to city to city. But Yeshua said this: a little leavening leavens the whole loaf. I think we can rest assured he wasn't talking about bread. He was talking about us. And that the energy of forgiveness and the active presence of love, when it gets to a certain crescendo on the planet, when it gets to a certain intensity, everything's going to shift and change. So what is it in your life you need to shift or change? Can we support you? Our calling number is 646-200-4169. And that's what we're here for.
We have a caller.
Awesome.
Area code 810. You're on the air.
Hello, this is Gail. This is
Gail.
I've called in before, and it's funny that your show is about what it is today, because I had an experience on Friday that first I had just a slight altercation with my oldest son, and then Adam and I got in an argument, and after that, my sister-in-law, I called her, and she just totally unloaded on me, and when that happened, I'm like, okay, why is this happening to me again? I was conscious. I'm like, what am I pulling into the universe? And then my brother, who lives next door to me, dumped a little broken concrete. We live next door, so there's a driveway down to the lake, and he unloaded a thing of concrete, so we couldn't go down to the lake anymore. And I was just like, I can't even believe this. Why are they doing this to me? Okay. And I was just, oh my gosh. And I kept, why is this happening to me again? Well, then Saturday morning I woke up with the worst migraine I've had in 6 years, which even then I was not surprised because I thought, oh, and then Adam's fiance is moving the kids. They've lived with us for almost 3 years, over 2 hours a day. And I thought, okay, my body's shutting down because it can't take all this emotional pain. And even though I knew they weren't doing it to me, my intellect was saying, I can't believe they did this. And I did the worksheets Friday night. I was in a rage, I'll be honest.
Right.
And I did the worksheets, of course, Saturday, even though I didn't get out of bed all day. I still did the worksheets. I did them Sunday. Luckily I had an appointment with Rex on Tuesday. I talked to him on Monday, and of course he's explaining to me, now this, they're not doing this to you. I'm like, yeah, Rex, I know that, but it feels like it right now, and I just want to be in this race, okay? And when I went to him yesterday, I had such an amazing healing session, a tremendous amount of hurt that I've carried for years. And all my life, whenever I did anything negative, my mother would say to me, you're just like your father. And my dad had a really bad temper, okay? So in my head, I believed that, I was just like that. And worksheets and the healing session I had was amazing. I really processed a lot of pain, and I'm going to I'm not ready to talk to my brother yet. I'm going to talk to my wife, and I've already talked to Adam, and it's amazing that I'm staying on the 5 worksheets because I feel like I've gotten so much out of that. I'm really happy that I started that, and I really don't want to ever. I know that you said some people do 10, and maybe I'll do that, eventually. So, yeah, what you said today was right on, because that's exactly what I experienced this weekend.
Cool. Well, that 5 a day, that's an awesome commitment, and it is amazing when you start looking at the underlying energies, the underlying energies that come up in response to events. And then you start to see the connection between the underlying energy and the event, and you realize that it's the underlying energy that invites the events to just keep on coming until we finally say, I think maybe I'll change this in me. I think maybe I'll forgive this.
Oh, yeah, I said that to Rick. I said, I don't want this kind of energy toward me anymore. I'm changing this.
Good for you. That's fabulous.
So thanks for everything, for all of your tools, because it's just amazing that, this thing, like I say, I knew what was happening when it was happening. I just knew.
Hello?
Yeah, that's it. I'm done. I just wanted to share that.
Michael, you've disappeared. I don't know if you can hear us or not. Gail, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate you calling in.
Awesome. Yes. Nice work. Keep it up. So 646-200-4169 is our number. Do we have another caller, Janie, or something happened in the chat room?
Yes, we do have another caller. It's area code 517. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey, Rex.
Hi.
Sound like you're in the car.
Doing well. I'm in the car. I hope it's not noisy. My car is pretty quiet, so it should be okay. I just want to reverberate my observations with Gail. Just tremendous intentional focus on healing, and it's an inspiration. And I really appreciate that. And quite often, I appreciate being, acknowledged and all that. And Michael, you're being acknowledged, and the work is amazing. But you know what? All of that is mute when a person isn't applying it. When it really takes hold and happens is when you do the work. And I want to acknowledge Gail for just being amazing, and how much effort and consciousness and time and energy she's put into doing her work so she can actually go through what she's gone through in the last few days.
Yes, I'm in full agreement.
And it's exciting. And
it's exciting and it's a privilege. It's exciting and it's a privilege to get to support people in that process, isn't it, Rex?
Yes, it is, brother. It sure is. I've just decided to dive in full, and I have been, and it's been interesting watching all these things unfold. I'm doing a workshop this Saturday, Healing Through Relationships, and then next Saturday I'm doing the Mind Shifter Still Point Breathing workshop, and then the following Saturday we're doing the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop.
Awesome.
So, and then we're back into, and then we move into the next cycle, and we'll do another Still Point Breathing and Mind Shifters workshop at the end of the month. And the intention is just to keep going, and just to keep after it. And what I'm noticing is that, those of us that are really focused and putting the time and effort in on it are really getting changes and making changes in our lives. And I want to acknowledge everyone that's doing it, and all the people that listen to the program, and, there's so much energy that would be inclined to kind of sway us in a different direction. I just really appreciate the effort everyone is putting forth, because I can really tell energetically that there's a lot of people really putting conscious, intentional effort into changing these realities and using the tools of forgiveness. And I'm just excited about it.
Very cool. Where are your workshops, Rex?
They're going to be at the Full Spectrum Family Medical Center in East Lansing, Michigan.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And we'd love to have everyone join us. Anyone who is interested in learning more about the work. That's what the focus is of my work. I've joined the team fully, and we want to reach out and, allow every mind on the planet to have the exposure to the teachings of Yeshua and other profound spiritual masters that you've inclined into your work, that you've, put into your work and that we're sharing. So I'm excited about that.
Cool. So people can go to your website, stillpointbreathoflife.com, to pick up the flyers, or they can go to our website, whyagain.com. And you'll find the flyers there. And East Lansing, the next 3 weeks, the opportunity to continue with the work and support Rex and what he's doing. Rex, if there's any way we can support you other than that, let us know.
Well, I had an idea just now as you were speaking. And you and I understand this, and I'm sure I trust most people on the call understand it, or everybody might understand it for that matter. But the importance of repetition, I've had quite often, the process of, I did that workshop. Yeah, I've already been to that one. I don't really want to do it again. Michael, I'm the first to admit, counting how many times I've observed the DVDs, I have done the Why workshop, I'm going to guess, not taught it. I'm not talking about teaching it. That's different. I'm talking about participating in the Why workshop, either through you or DVDs, at least 20 times. And any opportunity I have for you to be in the area and then I have the opportunity to come back and see it again, I'll go back and do it again. And people might look at me and go, well, why would you do that? Because every single time, without exception, I pick something up that I didn't get before. And I'd love to have you speak on that briefly. And, again, I just appreciate everyone and my love to everyone. And I'll put her on mute and see if there's any other callers as well.
All right, Rex, that's cool. And, we have this technology built into the DVDs that every time you listen to them, they change. So that's why that happened. No, just kidding. But what does happen is each time you hear it, each of the workshops is very multidimensional. It happens on many levels. And, of course, all listening happens in the brain of the listener. So people think they listen to my words, but they really don't listen to my words. They listen to their interpretation and the realities triggered by those words. And as you listen once through, you build some new brain cells. That is, you build information into your mind that then contributes to a new level of understanding the next time you listen. And each time you go through that workshop, it happens on so many levels that you're building brain cells for new levels of understanding and new realities that are able to show up that couldn't show up yesterday because the brain cells weren't there. So it's an interesting process for sure. So, Rex, congratulations. We're delighted you're on the team, delighted you're doing the work with folks and producing the results that you are. It's awesome to see how it's happening.
Thanks, Michael. God bless you.
Okay. Blessings. Tell Mama we said hello.
Certainly will.
So our phone number, 646-200-4169. If you have a question, a thought for us, if you're on the switchboard or, on the chat room and you have a question, of course, you can ask your question by typing it in the chat room, or we can have a personal conversation, which is always more fun. So if you want to call in on that number, 646-200-4169, we'd be delighted to chat with you and see what's happening. So, Jeannie, do we have anything happening out there?
No, I was quiet on the home front. Getting ready to start up. It's exciting to see even the participants are doing classes with other participants. They're getting ready to start one at 2 o'clock here. And so it's just really good seeing everybody getting together and supporting each other. And it's an awesome group.
It really is, isn't it? It's very cool.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, as we move forward in the time frame, we'll be finishing this intensive in Palm Coast, Florida. Sunday we'll complete, and then actually David is going to travel with us to Orlando for a week of playtime. So we'll get some playtime in Orlando, and then we'll be taking one more week to do some writing, and we'll be at Unity of Jacksonville. In Jacksonville, Florida. We'll be doing 7 days of workshops there starting the first Sunday of May. So we'll do Why Is This Happening to Me Again on the first Sunday, and then Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. We'll be doing a different workshop each day, and then we'll start into the Saturday morning. There is, all those workshops are free, open workshops, and on Saturday we'll do the one paid workshop that we do, and that's Why Is This Happening to Me, Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing, based in the why work, but it moves into a whole other level of process work. So in that workshop, we present 2 different tools that we teach. One, the Mind Shifter tool, and secondly, the Still Point Breathing, and how to step into a whole other level of process. And so if anybody's in the Jacksonville area, or, if you're somewhere in the far frozen north, although I hear it's thawing out pretty well, but if you're somewhere up north and you want to come, the weather here in Palm Coast we've been here now, to about 2 weeks, and it's just been awesome. Today's a little on the cloudy side, but otherwise every day has just been beautiful, clear, sunny, 70 to 80 degrees. We're right on the water. We've got a dock on the Intercoastal Waterway, a group of people that are getting ready to go over to Sunrise, the beach tomorrow, and the sunrise has been awesome. We went over yesterday, and we just missed the space shuttle going by, being towed or carried, I guess, on a 747 to Washington, D.C., having made its last flight. The Discovery is now grounded, and it went to Washington, D.C. yesterday. And when everybody was over on the beach, we got a call about it, but we were just a little bit late, and we missed it. So, but
we do have a question in the chat room. Someone wants know, do we need to be concerned about carrageenan in their food?
Well, I personally have done some research on carrageenan, and I won't buy things with carrageenan in it. There's enough research out there. I don't know for sure, but when I put something for me in the category of I don't know, why would I take a chance? There's some research out there that says that carrageenan, although it's a relatively natural extract of seaweed, that it perhaps is a precursor or a stimulant to stomach cancer. And it's in so many things. I just don't understand the manufacturers using it. And I've talked to several, and they say, oh, it's safe. But then, thalidomide was safe, too, until it wasn't. And to me, there's enough research about carrageenan that I won't touch it if I can help it. So that's my take on it. A lot of the, sadly, milks that are coming out that are good alternatives to dairy, a lot of the almond milk and coconut milk, rice milk, putting carrageenan in. And I guess what it does is it kind of gives a thickening, thick, creamy texture to things. So it's thought to be wonderful in order to try to replicate what milk feels like in the mouth. An important part of taste is texture, and so it gives that texture. But not for me. I pass. Thank you. And, of course, everybody has to do their own research, but that's my take on it. So our number, 646-200-4169. Call us. We'd love to hear your voice. What's going on in your world? How can we support you? If you've got challenges that just don't seem to be resolvable, we have tools, and we're here to share those tools. Jeannie, how about you? Have you got any thoughts about what's happening with the intensive in the group? Any insights in particular that have opened up for you in this last 2 weeks?
I've been in the kitchen more than I've been in the intensive, so I don't really know. But we do have a caller. So area code 702, you're on the air.
Hi, Michael and Jeannie.
Hey there. How are you, Doc?
Stephen and Claudia.
Good to hear your voice. What kind of exciting things are happening out in the wilds of the Mojave Desert in California?
Well, I'll tell you an interesting story that happened last night. A friend of mine who did a lot of introspective work using native Indian techniques, and he's got a good understanding of issues and how to deal with his own personal issues, told me last night that he had a discussion with his boss, and that it was decided that they were going to come to an end. They were going to part ways. And he left, and he said the best thing he could think of is to bake him a cake. And he took the cake over to him, and as he presented the cake, the gentleman who was to receive it wanted to know if he put poison in it. And I just wanted you to be able to comment. I've come up with my own understanding, but the gentleman I was speaking with said, we had a good run, and it was a good time, and this is the best thing that I could offer you. And then the other person doesn't want to receive it and always thinks in suspicion. Could you explain that briefly to me, please?
Well, my take would be, if in that interaction and the parting of ways, there's resentment, which is pretty commonly the reason for a parting of ways. Resentment is going to hallucinate all kinds of things based in fear, all kinds of things that, he's telling a little bit about the level of vengeance that his own mind produces when somebody isn't agreeing with his goals. That would be my take. And so he's really sharing his own possibility that while he may not be capable of or go to the length of poisoning someone, that his projection of vengeance is pretty deep. That's pretty intense to see someone as that much of an enemy just because they've decided to part ways business-wise that he couldn't receive a gift. That's pretty interesting.
And Michael, what's our reaction, and what do we do on a regular interaction with the gentleman with vengeance to help him with. Can we help him by our own work and our own interaction, or do we have to take it to the next level of trying to help him understand that he has issues that he has to work through?
Well, I think it could go in both directions. In one case, if you point to that person with vengeance, point out that they have issues to work through, you could very quickly find yourself playing John the Baptist and lose your head, because when you present that to somebody, their stress is going to rise up. And most people, unfortunately, in this world, when their stress goes up, they're addicted, and their addiction is getting rid of the source of the information that shows them their internal error, rather than going to work on their internal error. So I would suggest, you tread carefully there, because you can end up playing John the Baptist and lose your head. But otherwise, one of the most powerful things we can do is hold the space. I don't know if you're on at the beginning of the show, but we shared about a medical doctor that was here at the intensive last week, and this woman is kind of an alternative practitioner of standard medicine, but she had an experience when she was in med school where there was a child that was brought in that was battered to the point where they didn't think the child was going to live, and every time she would go into the room with the child, even when the nurses were saying, it's hopeless, and the doctors are saying he's going to die, she would go into this altered state, which I would describe as simply her moving into her essence of the active presence of love, and she could feel the energetic movement in this child, and the child, my take would be that the active presence of her love and being able to tap into this child on that level brings in that power of the presence of that human being themselves, and that by pulling that child into its own form, by really making a safe space and inviting that child into its own form, there was an energetic transformation that took place, and the child that wasn't expected to live lived and restructured and was perfectly healthy. So, I think there are always two alternatives. Number one, I always do this one, at least to the best of my ability, and that is hold the space, to be in that connected space of love. And if someone does something that brings up something less than me, then I know I've got work to do. I'm going to forgive so I can go back to that connected space of love. And then, I'm going to just use my intuition to determine whether or not I take it to the next level. If I perceive that there is not room for the expression of that I'm going to lose my head, well, then I'll just kind of keep my mouth shut probably. And although sometimes I still put my foot in it and go for it and bring up stuff for people, but that's sometimes part of the risk of choosing to bring real support and real healing for people.
I understand. I'm getting a lot of the people who don't want to move forward, and it's teaching me a lot, I guess, about what I'm able to do and what I can do and what I need to do. So it's a daily practice that you continue to express that we need to do, and certainly I'm putting it to the test.
For sure. Yeah, it is quite a happening, isn't it?
It is, because so many people start to see the potential, and they just don't take it to another step. They can say yes, 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 I see that, but the next day they are so gone back to their previous state that they don't want to acknowledge that this is a potential future for them, and they don't want to continue to do work or read the book or to listen to the radio show or anything else. And that brings up a level of frustration in me as well, but I continue to do it.
Of course, your frustration's your worksheet, so that'd be a good place to pick up and do a worksheet. But I certainly understand people who want to turn tail and run, because, I mean, when you recognize, especially like I know you're doing a lot of work in your medical practice with drug addicts who are trying to withdraw, and someone who goes to the level of drug abuse in order to hide their pain has got some pretty deep, intense pain. And what you're asking them to do is to delve right square into that pain and feel it and walk through it and work through it. And that's no easy project. Most people turn and run. However, there is some solace that I can offer you in that, and that is that I've observed over the years that sometimes it's taken as long as 10 years before somebody comes back and says, say what? What was that you said back 10 years ago? You said this was possible? Now tell me more about that. So, you're planting a seed, and you never know in that person's life when they're going to need it and when it's going to bear fruit, but it's always worth planting the seed.
Well, it's all these comments, all these experiences that help me get through another day. All the words of wisdom that you pass on, and it's just difficult, I think, for anybody to really get involved in it unless they do it on a daily basis and on a daily practice. But that's just been the most difficult thing to have the expectation for people to want to continue to do their work, and they don't. Now, meaning the expectation is when they come to me and say they want help, and I say this is what you've got to do. Of course, I make the expectation that they're going to want to get better. That's what they've told me. But realizing, of course, when I make an expectation or a goal and it's not met, that I bring up my own issues. But it's just a never-ending issue that people come in and say, I need some help, and what can you do? So I tell them what to do, and they just can't get around to doing it.
Well, and, in essence, what a lot of people are doing is playing out of their realities of hopeless and helpless, and so they've been trained that you're God and that you're going to fix it for them. And, of course, in the in the helping professions, the reason why so many people burn out is they accept that burden of I've got to fix it for everybody, and it's just more than they can handle. And so, if it's somebody saying, doctor, fix me, you can try to help them build the brain cells, and one day they'll wake up to, I've got some work to do, but otherwise they'll tend to take it out on you. So that is one of the challenges of being in the profession that you're in is everybody wants you to fix it for them. And you just can't do it. You just can't fix it for somebody else. You can certainly support them. You can point them in the right direction, but, they've got to be willing to go there themselves. And you never know what all the factors are that are going to take somebody into. Sometimes I'll see people who, they come into the work and it's kind of like, well, I don't expect them to go far, and all of a sudden they're shining, they're doing 5 worksheets a day, and they're rocking. And other people that seem to have a lot of comprehension and, yeah, man, I'm excited, I'm going to do this, and they come back, a month later with, well, gee, what about when this happens? Well, have you done it at a worksheet? No, I didn't think about that. And it's like, okay. So that's first order business. I can't fix it for you, but I can show you the tools. There's a hole there to be dug. I can show you the shovel and show you how to dig it, but you got to dig it yourself. I love how Gandhi said it. Gandhi said, if you want potatoes, you got to use the hoe.
I haven't heard that, but I understand it. One of the things that I do. Go ahead.
Well, I know you understand it with that awesome oasis that you guys have created out there in the middle of Mojave. Dr. Andraki and his wife, Claudia, have a piece of property that has no water and no electricity on it, and they've created this oasis and produced this awesome food right out of the desert soil. It's just amazing, and the amount of work you guys do with the hoe amazes me. So accolades to that, and you can actually go to their website and on Facebook. What's the Facebook name for the farm?
Desert Bloom Eco Farm.
Heather Bloom.
Desert Bloom.
Oh, Desert
Eco
Bloom.
Farm.
Check out Desert Bloom Eco Farm on Facebook. Send Claudia a friend request. Let her know that you heard it on the show, and I'm sure she'll do that. And the pictures of the farm, and we've spent weeks out there, and the food they're producing is just awesome. It's really cool. Do you have a website too?
No.
So Facebook, Desert Bloom. Yeah, cool. It's pretty amazing what you're doing with the hoe out there. I watch you guys out there, and it's amazing.
it's a daily practice, just like what we try to do spiritually and internally every day. And it's either you either have it or you don't, or you want to get it, then you work for it. So it's quite the same thing. And when I'm talking to people, and yesterday, for instance, I was talking to a gentleman, and I sometimes I try to bring in the children and express the opportunity that if they learn this, that they can all of a sudden put an end to the generations of improper blame and the improper understanding of the world. The question I have for you, Michael, is that a useful practice to say that if you do this and you start to use the work and you start to stop and say, I have an issue that I'm working through, and then to accept the responsibility for your feelings, and then to teach them that they can do that, is that a useful enough goal and purpose for a parent to want to do the work to stop the children from doing it, or does it really come back to them that they want to do it themselves? Can you comment on that?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I've learned in working in the prison system, many people in the prison system are resigned to the revolving door, which with laws of living we were able to cut recidivism by over 90% until the sheriff threw the program out because he had no prisoners from whom to collect his per diem rate from the state. But the people in prison, so many of them, it's just, my kids are starting on the same path I'm on. That's our environment, That's our family system. That's our culture. And my kids are going to end up in jail, and they'll do the revolving door all their lives. And when you get, that captive audience listening to how energetic dynamics work and genetics work, and you start pointing out that they can change the genetic patterns, man, you've got their ear hands. So many parents in jail will pick up and do the work for their children. They'll do their work internally in order to support and change it for the generation. So, yeah, I think that teaching the parent that what they shift in themselves starts to shift happening in the child is an awesome way to motivate people. And, we could tell 1,000 stories about how someone has done the work and their children have responded. I remember working with a woman in South Florida back several years ago, and she had a daughter that had run away from home about 8 years earlier. The daughter was 11 when she ran away from home. She hasn't heard a word from her. She doesn't know whether she's alive or dead. And she starts doing some forgiveness work around her daughter. Major process for her. And after that, some breakthroughs in that regard, it was 3 days after 8 years, and 3 days later she gets a call from her daughter from Southern California. She's in Florida. And her daughter calls and says, hey, Mom, just checking in to see how you're doing and let you know I'm all right. It's been 8 years, and within 3 days of a forgiveness worksheet, she hears from her daughter. So, yeah, we can change those dynamics, and it's pretty powerful to watch, too.
Well, Michael, I sure appreciate you coming on the radio every day, and I continue to recommend it on a daily basis that people listen to your radio show. We have our study group, our work group tomorrow night, and we're looking for more people than before and more interested people and more people to continue to do their work. And I want to thank you and Jeannie for everything that you've done, and we're continuing to do the work here in Las Vegas as well.
Cool. And so your support group tomorrow night is at Partners Medical Center in Pahrump, 7 o'clock?
That's correct. Healthcare Partners.
Cool. So anybody that's in Pahrump, Nevada, Partners Medical Center, Dr. Andraki and his wife will be doing Mindshifters support group. And everybody, our time is just about up, so we'll just say have the best year yet of your eternal life. Bring a stranger to the show tomorrow. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Mindshifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeannie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeannie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.